So it seems like when you look around the retro space, it's inevitable people are going to make lists of games that they hate. But here's the thing that I'm starting to notice. Some of those games definitely deserve the hate. They're not good. But on every single one of these lists, there's 2 or 3 games that always seem to make it. And here's the problem I have. I grew up with those specific games and I kind of loved them. So these are 3 games that everybody seems to hate, but I unironically really love. We're gonna start with a banger right out of the gate. Now, this game gets a ton of hate, and on the surface, I think maybe it could be justified, but the problem here is I think you're looking at it all wrong. And that game is Lester the Unlikely. Now, I remember playing this game on the Super Nintendo as a kid, and yes, I'm a fan of the cinematic platformer. As Jason Graves said,
it's one of those cinematic platformers you'd have to be real British to love.
I'll take that as a compliment. And actually, Jason, we're gonna have a little conversation halfway through this video. Don't you worry, buddy. But here's the deal. Yes, the game, you're playing as like this nerdy guy who is sort of this, everything that you would consider the antithesis of a hero, but that's kind of the point. He's not a Mario character. He's not some action hero who's super agile and has all these weapons at his disposal. He's just an average guy who's thrust into extraordinary circumstances. And I get it. Some of the gripes that I see, it's, you know, people talk about the fact that like he'll get scared of enemies and run away, and he'll cower in fear when he sees certain things, and like you lose control of him for a minute. But like, this is kind of an interesting way to go about interacting with a video game character, because as you're playing the game, you're basically spurring Lester on against his will. And so in some ways, the game is not only actually kind of good, it's almost genius and kind of a critique on that genre of video games of the day. So that's kind of the crazy thing and the crazy genius of Lester the Unlikely, is that when you start out, you don't really realize that you're causing somebody to enter into a situation that they don't want to and they're really, really uncomfortable with. But by the end, through your determination and the bravery that Lester is able to muster because of your help, you've both grown in the process. He is not so unlikely anymore, and you, through patience and determination, have, you know, traversed a, some would say, crappy game. All right, that brings me to game number 2. This one is near and dear to my heart, and as I said, me and Jason Graves have a little bit of a bone to pick, because in one of his most recent videos where he talked about 52 mysterious games for the 3DO, I believe is what it was, halfway through the video, he brings up Flashback. Now, this isn't on everybody's list, but I have seen it on multiple lists where either people are saying it's not great or they didn't enjoy it. But Jason, my dude, you brought a tear to my eye, because you said that you got stuck in a pit in the first 3 minutes of game, and then you just didn't know how to get out, so you gave up. It pains me to do this, but let me show you how you get out of that pit. Come on. All right, Jason, here we are. This is your video. Let's take a look at this part, and then I'm gonna help you out, dude.
I got stuck in a pit after playing for about 3 minutes, and I couldn't get out, and said that was enough.
All right, here's where I can see you're trying to make the jumps out of the pit, and let's just take a look at the footage.
And time and place matters. In 1993, when I had just spent $700
I see what you're trying to do there.
System, another $50 on the game, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna fucking learn how to play Flashback come hell or high water. But
I appreciate that come hell or high water, eventually you're gonna learn how to play it. Let me show you something real quick. So it looked like this was the screen that you were on. We got Flashback up and running here now. This is the Sega Genesis version, not the 3DO version, but I think it's still going to work. So I noticed what you were doing. You know, you were trying to jump here, and you're in some of these spots. And what you need to do is you got to kind of just go here on the edge, and then it lets you jump up. So I could see. So like again, I totally get it. You know, like you would assume that like smashing your head through the planks of this bridge a la Mario might be the way, but what you want to do, again, go to the edge and then just jump, and then he'll pull himself up. So, Jason Graves, don't hate me. I love your videos. See, it's simple, and there's so much game and adventure that's waiting ahead for you. Here's the deal. Again, and it's another cinematic platformer. Maybe there's a little bit of a connection to all of these. It is a little bit slow and methodical, but the story that this game tells is so dang cool. And once you get the hang of the controls, you're gonna find yourself being able to maneuver and do some really cool stuff and get out of some really hairy situations. And I just can't help but feel like this game is definitely worth the time that you put into it. So when I see this on people's lists, they're not usually ripping it to shreds, but it feels, again, like it's not getting the love that it deserves, and Flashback will always be one of those games that's just near and dear to me. All right, last but not least, game number 3. And this one, I will fight anyone who wants to fight about it, which I think is probably no one. The last game that I feel like gets so much hate, but I loved. I mean, like, it was bad. I made some bad choices with this game, and I'll tell you the story in a minute. The very last game that I feel like it gets way too much hate is Terminator 2 for the Super Nintendo. Now, again, everybody always talks about the driving levels. Look, the driving levels are not great, okay? I get it. If you can get past that, there's so much that's waiting for you. Again, people talk about like the T800 and when you're walking around that, you know, he doesn't move fast enough and that like the difficulty level scales too crazy. All of that is true. I get that. But the thing that you cannot deny about this game, well, maybe you can. The thing that you cannot deny about this game is that the set pieces are so cool. Do you remember those books when you were in school that would like show the cutaway of like the inside of a castle or the inside of like a ship or something? And it was like almost like you could see into the exterior. There's something about the levels in this game that give me that vibe where you like enter into buildings and out of buildings and everything is kind of this cool cutaway thing. There's all kinds of like interesting set pieces. Like when you're going through the garages and there's all the cars and you like blow up the motorcycles and the T-1000 is coming after you and you're just doing everything you can to slow him down and just escape. I just loved it so much. Even when you go to Cyberdyne, and you got to blow up enough of the infrastructure within the building to set off the charges to destroy it. It just was a cool concept for a level. So for some people, that's a turnoff. To me, I always thought it was so cool. I loved it so much. Now on to the story when it comes to this game and the bad choices that I made. I found out about this game by renting it from my local video store, Chowchilla, California, Video Palace. If anybody's watching and you remember Video Palace, hats off to Video Palace. I rented it from Video Palace and I loved this game so much that I think it was like a 3-day rental. Now that 3-day rental turned into like a 2-week rental, but I didn't tell anybody. Needless to say, when my parents found out and it was time to turn the game in, I think it was good that we kind of like knew the owner and we're friends. It was bad. It was a bad situation. Look, if I was in my parents' shoes and my kid did something like that, I would understand. It's Terminator 2. It was amazing. So that's it. Nothing crazy. I mean, maybe all of these takes are crazy. Maybe you're watching this right now and you're like, Rob, you're out to lunch. This is ridiculous. That could be true. Maybe I'm viewing all of this through nostalgia glasses. I don't know. But what I do know is that when I see these games pop up on these lists, it breaks my heart a little bit. And it's just, maybe I just have so much memories and love and joy tied back to these games that everybody thinks sucks. Let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Am I not alone? Let me know in the comments. Maybe you love these games too and you've just never spoken out, and now's the time. If you're a Lester the Unlikely fan, your time has come and I'm here to usher you into the promised land. Let's do it. Hey, you want to check out a game that actually wasn't too bad, that I enjoyed? Check out this video where I reviewed Victory Heat Rally from Playtonic. It was a fun time. Lots of drifting. Some people died in the process. RIP. Rest in power. Once you hit the track, once you're on the track, there's no friends. There's just competitors. If you're not first, you're last. All that good stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Just click it. I'll keep going if I have to. I don't want to, but the Talladega Nights references could keep going. Save me, Tom Cruise. I don't know what to do with my hands. If you don't chew Big Red, then